What's a Texas sheriff going to do? This is kind of out of his jurisdiction, right? I don't know. Let's read it. Let's find out. If there was a listen to, we would have listened to it because, you know, I like to take a break sometimes. Authorities in Texas have opened criminal investigation into Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' flight last week that took roughly 50 Venezuelan migrants to Martha's Vineyard. Javier Salazar, the sheriff of Bexar County, where San Antonio is located, said in a news release Monday that his office is investigating whether the migrants were victims of crimes. The Bexar Sheriff's Office has opened an investigation into the migrants that were lured from the Migrant Resource section. The Migrant Resource Center located in Bexar, Texas, and flown to Florida, where they ultimately were left to fend for themselves. So if DeSantis human trafficked people to Florida and then human trafficked people to Martha's Vineyard, that isn't his jurisdiction. Okay. Salazar held a Facebook Live news conference. Can we find this? If we can find this, I'd watch it. Facebook Live news conference over the Bexar County Sheriff's Office answering reporters' questions. What we understand is a Venezuelan migrant was paid a bird dog fee to recruit 50. God damn. They really do it to your own people, huh? To recruit 50 migrants who were then lured, and I will use the word lured under false pretenses, to staying in a hotel for a few days and taken to an airplane where they were flown to Florida and then to Martha's Vineyard under false pretenses of being offered jobs, said Salazar. From what we can gather, a little more than a photo op, a video op, and then they were left there. I mean, this small town Texas, like, sheriff, I'm sure he would love. You know, there'd be political fallout, but I'm sure he wouldn't give a fuck. Love to get a warrant for a sitting state governor. That'd be something sexy to hang on your wall. The sheriff continued. I mean, he probably couldn't get reelected in this, like, whatever little county he's in, but who cares? Cops always go somewhere else anyway. You know, he could get elected somewhere else. The sheriff continued to explain his anger over the incident and the false pretenses that brought the migrants onto the plane. What infuriates me most is we have 48 people here legally, and they have every right to be here, and they were preyed upon, lured with the promise of a better life and with the knowledge that they would cling to anything that was offered for a better life, and were exploited and hoodwinked to make the trip to Florida for what I believe is political posturing. When you're playing with human lives, people like that have every right to be here. That does tend to bother me quite a bit. We're absolutely opening an investigation into this. Salazar added the White House has not been in contact with his office, but he does welcome open communications. This case would absolutely have to go federal, and I would welcome a call from the White House to discuss. Salazar wanted to be as clear as possible, remind viewers that the migrants are in the U.S. legally and have every right to walk around free and not be preyed upon or lured into a situation they did not choose to be in. If someone is here and they are legally here and they are undocumented, I don't give a shit if they're not legally here. You can't be fucking with people. They have rights not to be victims. Yeah, human beings have right not to be victims. I don't care about their legal status, but I do understand why he's putting that out there. But at the end of the day, it's irrelevant. That being said, these people are here legally. They were documented. They had the right to walk around the streets free and not be transported across the country for it to be a media event. That's the tragedy. This is the worst type of crime. We're going to look at what extent the law we can hold these people accountable. Let's go, base sheriff. Can we find this, guys? Let me see here. Let's see if we can find that Facebook. Facebook Live based. This is it right here. It's 22 minutes long. Let's do it. Give me time to refill my water. This is super bass though. I want to hear what this guy has to say. Hey. Let's make it real big. Pause it. Pause our music. Let's watch this. I don't want to. Enter full screen. That hat is so cute. Turn it down some here.
Office.
Right, here we go. Base law enforcement.
Good afternoon. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm Sheriff Javier Salazar with the Bexar County Sheriff's Office. We wanted to call this conference to answer, I guess, just a bunch of questions we've been getting throughout the day in piecemeal fashion. We're just going ahead and clear the air for everyone. We are opening up a case with an investigation with regard to the suspected activities involving the 48 migrants from Venezuela that, as we understand it at this point, the facts of the case at this point, are that on Wednesday, September 14th, here in Bexar County in the city of San Antonio, our understanding is that a Venezuelan migrant was paid what we would call a bird dog fee to recruit approximately 50 migrants from the area around a migrant resource center on San Pedro here in San Antonio. As we understand it, 48 migrants were lured, I will use the word lured, under false pretenses into staying at a hotel for a couple of days. They were taken by airplane. At a certain point, they were shuttled to an airplane where they were flown to Florida and then eventually flown to Martha's Vineyard, again, under false pretenses is the information that we have, that they were...
Those stars on the sleeve, on the left sleeve there, are try hard as fuck. Whatever that is, he's take that monkey shit off, boy. You're embarrassing us. That shit looks whack, and it looks like a whack-ass military dictator.
Promised work. They were promised the solution to several of their problems. They were taken to Martha.
Also, one of his buttons, you see his button there? It's like unbuttoned. And that's that's a snap. That's really weird on the uniform shirt. I don't know. That's the Marine that lives in me. Sorry, it's a sickness I can't kill. Like inspecting uniforms. Also, his tie is obviously a clip-on. Sad, sad, sad.
Martha's Vineyard, from what we can gather, for little more than a photo op, video op, and then they were unceremoniously stranded in Martha's Vineyard. What infuriates me the most about this case is that here we have 48 people that are already on hard times, right? They are here legally in our country at that point. They have every right to be where they are. And I believe that they were preyed upon. Somebody came from out of state, preyed upon these people, lured them with promises of a better life, which is what they were absolutely looking for, with the knowledge that they were going to cling to whatever hope they could be offered for a better life, to just be exploited and hoodwinked into making this trip to Florida and then onward to Martha's Vineyard for what I believe to be nothing more than political posturing to make a point. Well, look, we all know that during a political campaign, things can get nasty, things can get out of hand, but when you're playing with human lives of people that are already in a desperate situation, people that again, had every right to be where they were, but were lured under false pretenses, that does tend to bother me quite a bit. And so...
I mean, everything he's saying is true. Like, the Republican Party, from I don't give a shit, there are no good ones. They vote for these fuckers and they put them in. They're monsters. They're monsters who come and sweep people up in the middle of the night, the most poorest, the most vulnerable people, just like monsters out of a fairy tale. They sweep them up, gaff them up, and they shove them all around the country. Like, these are the actions of legit monsters who I trying not to do TOS here, but it's unfortunate that they breathe the same air that us actual human beings do. These monsters. It's unfortunate. I wish there was some separate air that they could breathe, because I don't like the idea of like exhaling carbon dioxide, a tree getting that, and then one of these Republican monsters that abduct people in the middle of the night breathing that same oxygen. It doesn't sit right with me.
We are absolutely opening up an investigation into this. Since this past weekend, I've been talking to at least one non-governmental organization involved in the case, LULAC National. Also been talking to at least one attorney involved with representing these folks that are still up on the East Coast, as well as several members of the media, local and national. And all indications are that at this point we are going to be opening an investigation. It is way too early for me to start naming any suspects.
Names.
We do have the names of some suspects involved that we believe are persons of interest in this
and then
case
tell them, get the
but I won't
DA
be parting with those names.
Name names, and then tell the DA if they flip on the people on their bosses, just like Rico, just like the mob, because that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about organized crime. This was organized by the governor, who's already admitted to it. He's already admitted. We got him on 8K. He already admitted to taking credit for this. So we can't back out of shit now. So you got that in one hand. You got a confession in one hand. Think like a law enforcement agent. You have a confession in one hand. You have suspects in the other, and you get them to flip all the way the fuck up till we get to, I keep wanting to say Rick Scott, till we get to DeSantis. I don't want to clip that.
I think to be fair, I think everybody on this call knows who those names are already, so I won't be naming any of them. But suffice it to say, we will be opening up a case. El Departamento del Sheriff del Condado Béjar estamos abriendo una investigación tocante un viaje de 48 inmigrantes que ellos estaban aquí en la ciudad de San Antonio, el Condado de Béjar. Y la semana pasada, el miércoles día 14, la semana pasada, una persona se les acercó, les ofreció nueva vida en otro estado. Ellos a varias de las víctimas, the members, and give a tip. They can remain anonymous if they'd.
But didn't accept that.
We have not. It's done. How were you looking at account of what?
How this investigation is.
Did my man take calls from the public?
Gracias.
He's a guy after my own heart.
Hey, Sheriff. Jacob Beltran with the Express News here. What can you tell us
it's the
about
news.
how
Okay.
this investigation has been working for you? Are you talking to these migrants one by one, or how is that working?
No, what we're talking to right now is we're talking to an attorney. So these folks are still on the East Coast. And we've been talking to an attorney that's representing at least some of them. I can't say she's representing them all, but she is representing some of them. And what we're hoping is to be able to get as close to a firsthand account of what they went through while here in our county. We want to know what was promised to them. What, if anything, did they sign? Did they even understand the document that was put in front of them if they signed something? Or was this strictly a predatory measure? Somebody coming and preying upon people that are here minding their own business and are here legally.
That's the thing.
Not bothering a soul.
That's it.
But somebody saw fit to come from another state, hunt them down,
Monsters.
prey upon them, and then take advantage of their desperate situation just for the sake of political theater, just for the sake of making some sort of a statement, and putting people's lives in danger. I believe people need to be held accountable for it to the extent possible. At this point, I'm not able to definitively say, here's the statute that they broke, either federal, state, or local. But what I can tell you is it's wrong. Just from a human rights perspective, what was done to these folks is wrong.
You never hear like a law enforcement agent, right? Who, fuck the sheriff, he runs the jail, people shouldn't be in jail, like whatever. But you never hear them from an actual a moral perspective of just like, hey, this goes beyond like the statutes. This is wrong. This is 100% wrong to do. And we're going to figure out what the fuck you did wrong, and we're going to hold you wrong as far as like in our legal code, and then we'll hold you accountable from there. But as far as cops go, ACAB, but I like this guy.
From now on out, we're hoping to talk to some of these victims and witnesses firsthand to find out what was said, what was done, how were you lured into this.
He's a good person in spite of being a cop. He's not a good person, at least in this sense. See what I'm saying? That's why I'm getting excited, because he's saying, this was wrong, and now we're going to go through the statutes and figure out what happened. He's a good person in spite of being a cop. He's not a good person because he's a cop. You have to make that clear.
And then the full extent of how they were placed in harm's way. At that point, we will make the determination if there was any criminal activity. Certainly, I can tell you right now, the allegations that we've heard is absolutely distasteful. It's disgusting. It's an abuse of human rights. But I would like to find out sooner rather than later what charges, if any, are going to apply and to whom.
Have you spoken with anybody who, so you mentioned 50 earlier, have you spoken with anybody who was offered but didn't accept that?
We have not, but we're very early in the investigation. Earlier today, I met with my folks assigned to organized crime who are going to be making the rounds. And so my understanding is that there's already some non-governmental organizations that have been conducting some questioning with these folks that may have been witnesses to something similar. So we would ask anybody with information on this case to email us at bcsotips@bear.org. That's bcsotips@bear.org. Or they can also call our organized crime division at 210-335-GANG. 335-GANG.
Gang, shooters.
And they can leave a tip. They can remain anonymous if they'd like to. But certainly we're trying to talk to as many witnesses as we possibly can to get a better handle on what, if any, criminal activity occurred while in this county.
And forgive me, Sheriff, I'm still trying to familiarize myself with these folks too, but weren't they also already here seeking refuge in the United States from some persecution, or did I mishear that?
No, I mean, my understanding is that they were. I know that there's some really unfavorable conditions, to be kind about it, in Venezuela, and I think these were all Venezuelan immigrants. If not all of them, then the majority of them were Venezuelan immigrants. But look, they've already had a rough life. They've already suffered enough that they wouldn't be here if everything was hunky-dory in their country of origin. And so then to come here and think that they've found the American dream because some person who's strictly preying upon them offers them everything. The streets are paved with gold where we're going, and you're going to walk into your dream job and everything's going to be great. You're going to be able to support your family. All your worries are over with. Just get on this shuttle and then this plane, only to find out that they were just made fools of and are subjected to, a video op, photo op. That's enraging. It doesn't matter how you look at it. It's enraging. I believe there's some criminal activity involved here, but at present, we're trying to keep an open mind, and we're going to investigate to find out, to determine what laws were broken, if that does turn out to be the case.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you. Anything else?
All right, we'll leave it there. No, that was pretty rad. That was cooler than I thought it would be. So again, this guy he's doing the right thing. In this sitch, he's doing what he's supposed to be doing, and he's being a decent human being. And he's a decent human being in spite of being law enforcement. So good on him.